So, reflections. It's a wonderful phenomenon that happen in our lives. A reflection of a tree on the river, of ourselves in the mirror, or sometimes of bright light passing through a glittering surface. It definitely makes a shift of some sort. We actually stop and view it because there is a beauty in it. Well, not always. Sometimes we watch it very closely in awe. Sometimes we completely miss the reflections. So the reflection lane is an initiative that has been started where we all converge together here and reflect on a particular topic for about an hour's time. And what we do is we are all in our hustle and bustle lane, that's what I call, and rightly so, for the good part of the entire week or month. Because we have our priorities and we have to sort of deal with them, and we're all rightly in the hustle and bustle lane. However, the challenge is when that sort of starts getting a little too stressful, that starts getting a little pressurizing, suffocating, and whatever names we want to call it. And so this reflection lane is like a pit stop, just like all Formula One cars need a pit stop where we can rejuvenate, we can refresh, we can see what course corrections need to be made and get back onto the hustle and bustle lane with some learnings that we get out of this reflection lane. So if not anything, it definitely is not a Gyan session for the next 1 hour, if I have to say. As much as I am going to be a speaker here, I am also a learner. And the idea of the reflection lane basically is driven by the thoughts of all of us over here, about 29 beautiful people who have joined here, for us to sort of see what we can bring to the table, reflect together, and take back something individually that we can apply in our own lives at some point in time. So the format is again dialogue. So based on a topic that I'm going to introduce, I'll be speaking for a few minutes and then open it up for us to reflect together, sharing thoughts, asking questions, agreeing, disagreeing. So going to be a really fun and enthusiastic session as long as we want to be enthusiastic. My name is Raghavan. For those of you who don't know me, I am a certified coach, a trainer, and a motivational speaker. So in my role as a coach, I operate to hold the space for people, to ensure that they are operating from a level of holistic satisfaction and peace. This includes both individuals and organizations. So welcome once again to the reflection lane. And before I start, I want to thank some of our regular attendees very much, because we have had some good feedback, especially from the last time. And when I say good feedback, not just in terms of how well the session was, but also you have given us suggested some topics. And today's topic is also one where we are actually indulging in something that was given to us to talk about. Generally, the topic is suspense, but this time my team told me let's not give it let's enhance the level of suspense. So just give something out over there, but don't tell it completely. So if you all have seen the video along with the invite, it's about conversations. So I would want to kind of jump into the topic directly. And when we say conversations lead to connections. I hope that resonates with all of us. All right, starting from a stage of infancy, when we even didn't know what to speak, when we know no grammar, nothing was available. The way all of us have actually started connecting with our parents, who are the first people who we know and see in our life, was through some sort of a conversation, right? Of crying, making noises. That's where it started, making noise. And then slowly it moved on. And generally, I mean, we all remember, right? When we see a beautiful girl or a handsome man, we want to make a connection somewhere. And that connection happens through conversations. Well, yeah, millennials and Gen Z is all very different, but still, for us, it was, there were a lot of people who see somebody, say hi, Facebook request, and then start talking. But still conversations happening. Nowadays, I think much more younger lads can probably tell me, I think now it's like you see somebody, and I think you head to Tinder directly and swipe left or right and start having the conversation. And in any way, conversations lead to connections. I think that's what is important, whether it is in your professional life, personal life, where we have a mentor in a lot of cases, is because of a conversation that led to that connection of having a mentor. So as much as we are doing this chatter and banter, through the entire day, I think the last 2 minutes probably helps us recognize how strong and how powerful conversations are, isn't it? Because it's been an integral part of our entire journey till date, and probably going to be much more stronger for the rest of our lives. Now, what happens is, this makes connections, and this is true not only from an external perspective, but also from an internal perspective. What do I mean by that? So when you're making connections externally with the world, right, it's like the world is like, it's like a bouncy place. So whatever you throw, it comes back. At whatever speed you throw, it probably comes back. And however hard or slow you throw, it comes back. And that's what we call exposure. And having that exposure, through that exposure, there are a lot of consumptions that actually go into our emotions. And there is a conversation that starts happening within ourselves, which again, we may not notice, we may notice, sometimes we notice, sometimes we don't. It sort of, keeps moving. It's not a straight line at all. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that also. And we all recognize, right? There is somebody who's talking to us most of the time, if not all the time. Which means that's the reason I said in any conversation, there is a +1. And that's where there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. When we are with the conversation that happens within ourselves, when we are sitting alone, we are alone. And that's not a bad thing to reflect, when you're alone. The challenge becomes when we become lonely, is when we are trying to even avoid that conversation within. That's when we are lonely. I don't know how many of us can agree with this. I'm happy for people to disagree with this, but this is my sort of thought process. So even when you are by yourself, there is a +1. So there are 33 people, actually there are 66 people in this conversation, right? In a lot of ways, because it's you, me, and another voice inside you that's actually telling you something, or in a very subtle way, or probably will continue to speak after this reflection lane is over with you. And that's really personal. This is one conversation I can probably say with 100%, 200% conviction, nobody in this world can know what it is, unless you decide to actually speak that out openly with somebody else. Do Jism Ek Jaan is all cool for us to sort of, talk about, but in practicality, right, it's like do Jism, two people, two conversations, it is, right? Not that love is bad, but I'm just saying that still, even in the closest of relationships that we can have, I think, in all honesty, there is a conversation within me that nobody knows. Absolutely nobody knows. And if since I'm a believer, I'll say God knows, but maybe that's what it is inside that I'm talking with, from my perspective. Need not be the same for all. And this conversation sort of manifests itself in all ways, right? In personal life, in professional life, when there are challenges, when there are happy modes, all those cases, this actually happens. And that personal connection that we are able to have with that conversation, I just wonder sometimes how powerful can that be? What can it do to us? It's like, is it like atomic energy is where I think, and we all know, right, atomic energy can be used for both good and bad. And probably that conversation is like the atom of the soul. It's the atomic energy of the soul that we are actually having. And we may be in different modes, and we'll go into that also at a later stage, but we may be in different modes, like denial or complete acceptance of the conversation, whatever it may be. But in any case, as long as the exposure is there, as long as we are all alive and kicking, and thankfully there is a lot of gratitude for all of us to be here, right? in the current situation that the world is reeling in, our country is reeling in. There's a lot of gratitude also that comes from within. That's the conversation also that comes from within. And this conversation has no place of residence. And like, let's just look at some of the examples. When you talk to someone, there are these different, I'm just going to give some examples, right? So we say this, right? Hey, I had a gut feel they were in love, man. We've said that, isn't it? I had a gut feel there was something going on in that organization. So was it your gut thinking? We all think our brain thinks, right? So there we said gut feel. Or we say that, in my head, I was thinking this is what is the reason the person was not talking to me. So now it's not the gut anymore. You don't say in my gut, I was thinking that. So sometimes we say in my head, I was thinking this is the reason that's happening. Or we say, I'll put my money where my heart is. So we are relating money and heart, which can be a complete different conversation by itself. But suddenly you're speaking of the heart, right? Which is here. So, this conversation doesn't have a place of residence, which means that this conversation is nothing but the true self that we are. You cannot find a place within you for that. It is there. That is what you are. What we are outside physically is different. What we are internally, that conversation is the real person. And that person may be seen outside sometimes, may not be seen sometimes. And I said this conversation is not a straight line. So as much as we say that this internal intuition or conversation should be motivating or whatever, not necessary, it motivates all the time. It can sometimes find you guilty. It can be a conversation of pride. It can be a conversation of yelling and scolding. It could be a very comforting conversation at times. It could be moralizing, demoralizing, and so on and so forth. So it's not necessary that it's always headed in a direction of upwards, So it's like it keeps moving based on where we are. But that conversation for me is like atomic energy is what I feel. Now, maybe as we are speaking, there is a conversation happening within ourselves as we listen. And today morning, I read this beautiful one line. Oh my God, I was like, for a few seconds, I just froze. And it says, and it said, the universe speaks to those who listen. I'll just repeat that, but it was really powerful, I felt. The universe speaks to those who listen. I'm going to allow that to sink in. And, that universe is not something that is immeasurable and has a lot of stars and planets and meteors and comets and everything. I think that universe is what that resides within, but relates with others. I was having a conversation with somebody just recently as a part of this something I don't recollect for what, but the person said, I've come to believe that if I really want something and I continue to sort of keep talking towards that as to what I want, I have had experiences where the universe gives it to me. And that person spoke that with a lot of conviction. That person did not really, talk with a sense of doubt or anything. So yeah, I mean, that little conversation within you can be connected with the entire universe of things that are going on as well. And yeah, it takes some time for that to sink in, but today morning you all may probably resonate with why you think I just froze that moment when I just saw that, where it said, the universe speaks to those who listen. So as much as there is a conversation going on within, I think what's very important is listening. And whenever we say listen, I think our memory gives an image of a ear. But this listening requires something more than a ear, right? Something that doesn't have an image at all. But that's very powerful. And that's why I call it, I think when I was thinking about today and I was saying, can I resonate with the conversation within as atomic energy? And when I read that quote or that sentence or whatever you want to call it, I had no other doubt. I was like really satisfied that yes, it is atomic energy residing within us and can be put to good use or bad use. So there stops my banter or my conversation or my chatter. at this point, and I would like to really throw it up over there for you people to share your thoughts or ask questions or whatever it may be. And look, I am not the be all or end all of giving any answers. So whoever wants to chime in, you can. So who wants to go first? I see some line unmuted already. Rohit, you want to speak?
Yes. So I'll start the discussion maybe with a question rather. So when you talk about internal conversations, it so happens that for a lot of us that this internal conversation often leads to overthinking, right? So so this overthinking, just like you said, this internal conversation could be put to good reasons, good use or bad use, and overthinking is obviously, I mean, too much of anything is obviously bad. So how do you like differentiate between, I mean, this is actually worth listening to, or this is actually you overthinking, right? Like, what's the differentiation over there?
How did you know you're overthinking? I mean, how did you come to a conclusion that you were overthinking?
Right. I mean, so you sometimes have an intuition that this kind of makes sense. I mean, you don't believe anything which doesn't make sense. So, but there could be some sense in that, but then the chances of that happening is less, right? I mean, given a situation, so that could lead to overthinking, right? I mean, it could happen or it could not happen, but nonetheless, it's still a voice within you which is bringing up that kind of a thought in your mind. So, I mean, this is kind of hazy, but this is what it is, I mean, how do you differentiate between it? Listen, this is what you should be doing versus, okay, listen, I think your brain is working in overtime right now. So
Yeah.
what's the differentiation over there?
So I don't know if there is a differentiation per se, and I am somebody who believes that one size does not fit all. So the moment, and in my journey as a coach, right, I look at holistic awareness level coaching, and I'll just take a leaf out of there and tell you. We say that in awareness, right? The moment you capture something happening, the moment you're aware of something happening, it goes. The problem that something remains is because we are subconsciously going on and on and on, and we are not trying to be self-aware of it. That person within us is not becoming self-aware that this is now becoming too much of conversations, too much of talk. So sometimes it's about believing, right? I mean, when you know that there is a conversation in your question, I feel there is an answer sometimes, because when you say that when there is a conversation within, it makes sense. So that's one part of it. And then you say sometimes it just goes on and it becomes like overthinking. So which means there is something inside you telling you that you're overthinking. So are you in denial of that voice that is telling you that it is overthinking, or are you in acceptance of the voice that it is overthinking, that it is what you're doing is overthinking, and believing in that voice? It's not about the outcome, it's about being in the process. Not necessarily we have to get it right all the time. So if my voice inside is telling me that I'm overthinking, and if I feel I have to pause, I should pause. If I'm in denial of that voice that it is overthinking, and I may be wrong, I may not have been overthinking at all, but I have to believe in what is coming from within and that conversation that's happening. And that's how that conversation is getting nurtured. Right? As much you're nurturing yourself, you're nurturing that conversation within you as well. So it goes through experience, is what I would say. That's my 2 cents.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I'd like to chime in on this, and Rohit, a very valid point, right? Conversations are, again, to my mind as well, it is of two kinds, and more often than not, we are surrounded by one kind of voice than the other in the current environment, and especially when we are working, right? I think there's a lot of anxiety that we develop about certain things, certain meetings, certain particular issue that's coming up, a conversation that I'm going to have with someone. And at that time, there is a voice inside me that's asking me to prepare for it and thinking of outcomes and pretty much kind of playing that back in my head in terms of how the outcome will be, what will I say, what will that person react as, or just kind of creates a lot of overthinking and anxiety, which kind of self-propels itself and eventually does not lead us to an answer. And then there is another conversation that I have consciously or subconsciously, but something that's kind of me looking forward, looking through the haziness of all the noise that we get being around people and in the environment we are. And those conversations have a lot more cues and subtleties around it, but are powerful.
Okay.
Somewhere kind of being able to draw that out. And there is that inner voice, like what Raghavan mentioned, that will tell you it is overthinking. But sometimes it is good to kind of talk about what your mind is talking to yourself and the anxiety that you're feeling with someone else, someone who's a well-wisher to you, a mentor to you, and check whether that is overthinking or that is a valid kind of preparedness. Again, it will be different for different people. It might work as a different solution, but to me that helps. When I feel I'm overthinking, when I get that sense of anxiety, I rather share it and kind of get a independent view to shut that out. Whereas then there are other conversations which are very personal, which you know is from within and is more probably fruitful and useful to kind of leverage on.
This, sorry, if I may just bring up an example over here, when you spoke about an office environment, when you are going into a meeting, and I mean, for a person who wants to, be one step ahead of the game, right? You would always look beyond and see, okay, listen, if I'm going to be presenting this, what am I going to expect from people? Like, what questions will I expect? How can I answer those questions? So where do you draw a line? This is kind of an example which actually would help maybe everybody. Where do you draw a line saying that, okay, so I don't think that question is going to come up, but just in case it comes up, what's my answer, right? I mean, so where do you draw a line saying, okay, that those kind of questions won't come up, So it's more like you're trying to put out you're trying to put out fire everywhere, so much so that it just goes beyond your imagination, so that's what I'm trying to see. Where do you draw a line between overthinking, like those kind of questions cannot come up, versus, hey, listen, what if they come up and we still have to put it out, So that's kind of a differentiation that maybe could help everybody over here.
Bala, you wanted to say something? Is that a question?
Yeah, I was just. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I think my 2 cents are more of a extension of what just Vikas mentioned, right? So I think every conversation needs a conclusion, right? And I think when is anything which comes to our mind first, we start having that conversation, right? And we are looking for a conclusion. There are times wherein we are very convinced about the conclusion, and we get to a solution, right? And that's where the conversation ends, and we know that, okay, this is what I want to do. And there are times wherein we are not able to get to that conclusion, and I think that's where the overthinking part starts coming in, right? I keep thinking about it, keep visiting it, and eventually what you do is, you conclude that you're not able to conclude within yourself, and then you start to go to someone else. I would say, Raghavan, I want to discuss something with you because I've been thinking about it, but I'm not able to make up my mind. So you look for avenues where you want to conclude, right? So I think eventually we do, and if we don't, then I think that's when there is a problem, right? I think you need to come up with a method saying that either you'll conclude within, or you'll conclude with the help of someone who you really believe in and rely. And it's got all to do with the track record, right? You've been thinking since your birth, right? So either you are confident about yourself that this is the right solution and you conclude, or over a period of time you have experience with individuals, that, okay, this is a person who can give me the right advice, and you conclude there, right? So then you start on with a different conversation, right? So within a day you deal with multiple conversations, and you are trying to conclude on each and every conversation, right? Again, I'll give you a very unique example that it just doesn't happen to adults like us, right? People like us. It happens to any age group, right? And I think I will quote an example of my daughter. The other day, she was just talking to me, and she's like, she calls me Dia. So she's like, Dia wants to talk to you something very important and serious. I thought it's something again, something has happened with her friends, or she wants to book something. I said, okay, tell me. She's like, no, she's just 8 years old, by the way. So she's like, there are voices in my head, right? When I'm doing something, there is one side which tells me that go for it, do it, and I know that is wrong, because I know we're not allowed to do that, but it really pushes me to do that. On the other side, there's a voice which tells me that no, this is going to put you in trouble, don't do this. So how do I identify what it is, right? And she was really in a dilemma, and I could see this is serious, right? And I just had to conclude that by telling her that the voice which is really pushing you to do something which is really, really bad, right, but gives you a lot of excitement and thrill, is evil. And the one which is telling you don't do it, it is wrong, it is something which is going to put you in trouble, but it is also generally wrong, is the the opposite of evil, right? It's good. So whenever you get into a sub situation, first try to see what is evil and what is good, and if it is evil, turn your back towards evil. And if you're still not able to conclude, then come, let's have a discussion. We'll talk about it, and we'll get to a solution, because it is just, I had to also tell her that it is not something which you also deal with. It is something even I deal with even today, wherein there is always evil and good, and I have to choose between both of them every single time. When I'm talking to you now, even now I'm doing that, okay, what is evil and what is good, right? And I have to tell you. So do not, I think, after that, it's been a fantastic conversation with her, right? Every time she's in that kind of a situation, she comes to me, we have a good discussion. But I just thought of giving that example, saying that there are voices not just with us, with everyone around us. Everything needs a conclusion, right? And it's either sometimes within you or sometimes around you.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, great lesson, I would say. And Rohit, I think that helps answer the question
Yes, it does.
to some extent. And I think thanks, Bala, for sharing something so personally. But yet, I think I feel really blessed to have listened to this. And I'm really blessed, why? Because the second time I'm listening to this.
Yeah, I shared this
we
with
spoke
you.
about this,
Yeah.
some time back. And it's really interesting for us to know that we can't go back and be our 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds, but I think recognizing that sometimes that, what, I am in the situation, I don't know this conversation, one is telling they're going into two different directions, and I don't know what the outcome is or whatever it has to be. At least recognizing that I've been going through this since my childhood, and sometimes just saying that it's okay for those two voices to remain within me, and let's see what I have to do, how do I get to a conclusion. And Bala did a great segue into saying sometimes that solution comes from the voice within, sometimes it comes from outside.
I think, Raghav, that it was well depicted also in the, sorry to quote this as an example, but in a Spider-Man movie, okay, wherein, and it was easy for me to explain that to my daughter when we were watching, because we know that Spider-Man is our friendly neighborhood, right? And but there was a dark side of the Spider-Man also, which was shown in one of the parts, right, wherein he comes in a black costume, right? That's the evil part of it, right? So we all have that within. It's all about managing to suppress that evil part, and allowing the good part to stay on top of it, right? And I think more often than not, you will end up taking the right decisions.
Thank you. You don't have to be sorry to quote Spider-Man. Nevertheless, great thoughts. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Do you want to shift gears? Do you want to talk about anything? Yes, Sophia.
Yeah, Rax. I think it sounded very similar when Bala just mentioned. So I would like to say that we had this interesting conversation with my husband the other day when he felt that sometimes he finds his father is murmuring something when he's just sitting, and in actuality he's not talking, but he feels his lips are moving, and he found it to be slightly concerning, and he thinks it was related to the age. Father is aging and all these things. So I had to tell him one very strange thing, and this is what I told him, that sometimes when I am alone, or most of the times when I am alone, I keep talking to myself. And sometimes you'll see my lips moving, sometimes I'm talking loudly, or most of the times, I think 80 to 90% of times, it's in my head, but I'm talking. So I might have those expressions where I'm, talking to someone or all those things. And that has been right, again, as he pointed out, that has been with me the case since my childhood. I would go to tuition while walking also, I'm talking to myself saying, "Acha, aaj ye karna hai. This is how I have to plan. This is how I have to study." Always been a part of me. That doesn't mean there's something wrong, or it's because of age. It could just happen to everyone and everyone. But it's a part of few people maybe do it more often than the others. So it's not something to worry about, but it's just there. And for me, in my case, I also have another example, again, a personal one. The way he just mentioned, right, the evil and all those things. So I've been a very, somewhere down the line in my childhood, I realized early that I was a very possessive person by nature. I like my best friend. He's my best friend. Why is he talking to someone else? And I used to get, my mother, why is she talking to someone else? My sister, why is she talking? That thing used to always, come up. But somewhere, these conversations that go in my head used to actually make me, first, I realized that I maybe am a possessive person by nature. The day I realized that I am a possessive person by nature, it helped me to bring that possessiveness down. I could see myself detaching from that fact that why is he talking? No, then I started somewhere losing that compulsion to feel that my best friend should talk only to me. It was very strange, but that kind of helped me in my childhood, because those voices that we hear, and when we are having that kind of conversation, somewhere you're able to see what is impacting you or how it is impacting you, right? So yeah, maybe the good or bad, the good one, but those kind of conversations are always there. I'm sure it's for most of them, not just for one or two of us. But that's that's one thing that I always like about, or I at least enjoyed right all through my childhood, that these voices or this me time that I used to have, whether planned, unplanned, most of the times it's unplanned, right? You're not thinking you're going to have a conversation with yourself, but you like your time of solitude. Sometimes you're traveling and you're constantly thinking or talking, and these have actually given me a lot of solutions to a lot of problems, lot of solutions. And I think somewhere just acknowledging or understanding that conversation helps. Frankly, I feel any conversation helps, whether it's with yourself or it is with anyone. As long as there is conversation, as long there is communication, I don't see there's going to be problem ever in a personal or professional life, right? So for me, that ways I feel conversations are good.
Yeah, thank you. Well, a lot of powerful things that you brought out, Sophie. I think the first thing, talking to ourselves, sometimes we can be so deep in that, and I call it, maybe let me call it a meditative state when you're talking to your own self, and it can sort of manifest in itself outside. But yeah, we have to be a little, at least for this group, I can say we have to be a little careful of our environment, right? Because I have found myself, I have got my own self talking a little, like not just within me, but with my lips moving and started talking and all that. But yeah, if that had to happen in in a filled room, I'm sure there is a lot of collateral damage for me to manage. So we have to be aware of that. But yeah, I mean, you said me time. That's really powerful, right? I think sometimes the conversation that happens with us is the me time, and that's where it helps developing ourselves and awareness. I think you basically told about awareness, right? The possessiveness, and once you're aware of it, and that's what Rohit was saying, right? As to once you're aware of something, you can easily let go of whatever it may be, maybe a problem or whatever. So life is all about a self-awareness journey in different facets, which is what I love. And those conversations can be powerful, and a lot of solutions, as Sophie said. To a lot of problems, sometimes we are looking so much outside, you just have to sit and have that conversation within, and solutions do come up. Thanks a lot, Sophie, for sharing. Chandan has raised your hand. You want to contribute, sir?
Hi, Raghavan. First thing is,
Hi.
it's really nice to see you.
Oh yes, sir. After more than 2 years, I think so wonderful to see you as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, I was again a thought, not really a question, right? And most of this you have already touched, when we are having a conversation with, let's say, external party, mostly it's a conscious one, right? And we know what we are talking and we know what we are expecting. But when we are having a conversation within ourselves, most of the time it's a subconscious one. And because it's a subconscious one, it is an independent conversation, right? There's no bias. But minute we become conscious about our inner conversation, do you think that we might be biased and that way we can influence the conversation? We could have been a independent one and maybe a better one than being a conscious one. Because minute we become conscious, we try to be like, okay, something which we want. We want to make the conversation going that way rather than making it an independent one. Okay. So what's your thought on that?
So you're telling this is basically with regard to the conversation that happens within us when we become conscious about it. Right. I would actually relate it to breathing, right? So we are all breathing right now, but I don't think we are consciously breathing. And when I say we have to consciously breathe, we start sitting in a position, everything changes, isn't it? And then we close our eyes, we start sort of focusing on the breathing. You are breathing at both times. But the concentrated breathing actually helps a lot more, both physically and mentally. And when that internal conversation becomes conscious, that's, I think, the moment you have to continue to stay with it, because it may be telling you certain things that we don't like. And in a moment, I want to share a slide with you in terms of what are the different stages that we may go through. Just something that came up, but then that's the time when I'm conscious. I think we have to stay with that conversation and accept what comes our way. And there may be times we are not completely in agreement at all. We may cry, and it's okay. We may hate things. We may sort of get really angry. It's okay. But suppressing and getting it back to subconscious level and ignoring, I don't think has made a lot of good in the long run. My personal view, I may not be right, but I don't think it helps. So when it gets conscious, however difficult it is, I think cling on. It'll help.
Yeah, in fact, this is a good point Chandan brought in, and I think I get his sense of if it becomes conscious, my biases will kick in, and I'll kind of try to divert the conversation that I'm having with myself in the direction that my biases allow me to. But I think if you're conscious enough, and yes, lasting longer in that conversation will help us kind of get to that point, like Raghavan mentioned, is if I continue with that conversation, I'm the one who's aware of my biases as well. And right. If I'm genuine to myself, I'll realize that this is my bias talking and not really me talking independently. And staying with it and making that conscious effort, like conscious breathing, right? It takes practice, it will take time, but it will help us get better. And I think that was a very good analogy Rax just gave to that point, right? Breathing subconsciously versus consciously. Consciously, it is done to improve ourselves. And I think once we get to that awareness state and kind of stick with it, continue that and practice it, I think we'll get to a point where we take the biases out and have those genuine conversations, genuine me time that allows us to look forward than just reactively act to it. And I think at some point, Raghavan, you might touch on to this, but I feel the conversations so far we've been talking about have been more reactive to the situation, to the environment, to a particular person or whatever that particular thought is. But as a kid, and that's what I realized, that while having this conversation as a kid, I would have more proactive or independent conversations, had to do nothing with what is happening right now. It was just, I have time at my hand. What do? I don't have anyone else around. I'm not in the mood to play. What do? I start talking to myself and talking random things, imagining myself in random situations which do not exist, and then kind of working through that. And that would allow us to expand the horizon of the way we think or the opportunities we can explore. And I think that's where we want to touch upon that atom and see what energy it has to kind of take us forward. So I'll just stop at that maybe.
Thank you, Vikas. In the interest of time, Kumar has raised his hand. So maybe one last thought, and I just want to move forward. given we have 15 minutes to close. Yes, Mr. Kumar. Do you
Hey,
have something to contribute?
yeah, so sorry, I tried to sort of come on video, but because of the bandwidth, right, it is
No
not allowing.
problem. Go ahead. Thank you.
So this is my first sort of joining session of this Reflex Lane, and I'm really enjoying the conversation, whatsoever happened, especially this is something which is very close to my heart on the inner conversation. Okay, so as you rightly said, Raghavan, so when we are kids, right? So I think we do not sort of segregate to put a line of a thoughts whether I need to express it or not. Okay, so we tend to express it anything and everything to our parents because they are our immediate sort of caretakers. But as and when you grow, right, so you tend to sort of increase your what do you call horizon, and you get your friends, and you get your you'll sort of have your own family, and then you'll have your colleagues as and when you move into your professional career and all, right? So definitely there will be a bundle of inner conversations in your mind, but at the same time you put a line saying that what inner conversation has to come out with whom. Okay, so there are certain conversations which I can feel, okay, this is something which I need to share only with my best friends. There are certain inner conversations which I need to share it only with my family or with my sort of kids as such. So that's how you sort of put a line between those inner conversations. But at the end of the day, there will be certain inner conversations which won't go out. Actually, it will be sort of within you, and then there will definitely be a kind of a line between sometimes most of the inner conversations which lie within you might be kind of a guiltiness which you always feel that, is it something which I need to really sort of throw it out or sort of keep it in myself, and try to sort of find out how I can sort of converse of those guiltiness which I might not sort of express to anybody. Because if you start expressing all those things, you tend to have that fearness in your mind what others might sort of feel about that. Okay, so that is one thing. And also there are certain inner conversations like happiness, pride, or sadness. I think these are the things which people easily try to sort of express it with whomsoever they feel that they are close enough. But at the same time, right, even if you see the current situation, if I give an example of myself, okay, so last year somewhere in the month of August or September, when I was traveling to my native after all this corona thing, so I happened to sort of stop my car in a petrol bunk, and I sort of tried to fill in a fuel, and I gave my card, and the tapping machine was not working. Okay, so the person told you have to sort of enter the pin. So I was very conscious that after entering a pin, I have to sort of use the sanitization so that I can sort of do sanitization to my hands. But because of some reason, I forgot that, and then I started driving, and in that due course, I might have touched my nose or mouth, whatever for that matter. Once I reached my native, then I started feeling that I was feeling very tired, and that day even I got cold, and then the next day morning even I had fever. Somewhere in my inner conversation, I was thinking, okay, fine. Is this because that yesterday when I sort of filled the fuel to my car, I didn't sort of sanitize my hand immediately after putting the password on that machine? But that conversation, I cannot express it to anybody over there because I was there with the family. And then if I sort of express that, then that particular problem might sort of multifold and people start unnecessary overthinking. Okay. So I try to sort of keep that within me, and that passed on. I think after 2 days I took the relevant medications and all, and then I came out, and touch wood, it's been almost a year now. None of my family members were affected with COVID. Okay, but still, when that particular situation happened, so there are certain things which you tend to express, but you tend to not to, because the moment you express it, you feel that people will start thinking unnecessarily, and you're sort of sharing that, or you're multiplying that particular problem from one mind to multiple minds. So that's what I sort of wanted to share with this group, Raghavan.
No, thank you, Kumar, and very glad that you're here. So that sums it up. Also, we are happy that you're hale and healthy. And yeah, some conversations cannot be expressed outside, as you rightly said. One thing that I'm taking away from what Kumar said is that conversation within you is very observant, as much as we may not be. So when he went, and whenever he felt a little, he was feeling a little sick, I think that conversation came out and said, hey, you didn't sanitize your hands after you keyed in the pin. So what I want to say is that self inside is very observant of all our external actions, as something as little as just putting a 4-digit pin onto a machine. So that I would relate to Chandan, right, and say that it is that observant voice that when it becomes conscious, I feel that's the reason we have to be with it and maybe sort of, acknowledge and take it forward is what I would say. Now, I know we are running short of time, and I just want to just rush through 2 things, and maybe if some women folk can speak, it's becoming too many male voices. So if you can give a beautiful closure, that will be very nice. So just giving a heads up. So I hope you guys can slowly see my screen at some point. So as always, so we've spoken about conversations being internal and external. And before I go into this pyramid that I just came up with, right, remember that your internal conversations weigh against your external conversations also. And that's something we have to be, again, it's all about awareness. How much are we allowing the external conversation to suppress the internal conversation, or vice versa? And sometimes, as I said, there is no one way of things working. But when you feel internally very confident and everything, but if there's an external voice that's coming and telling you, no, you should not be, or, just denying all the good things that you should have, then I think it's about becoming much more stronger internally, right? That voice has to be nurtured within to become much more stronger, which means believe in that voice again and again and again. And sometimes if we are headed in the wrong direction and the external pressure actually suppresses that internal voice, maybe it's doing it for all the right reasons. I'm sure we can all resonate with certain experiences and certain situations in our life related to that. But this internal conversation that we have with ourselves actually speaks with the external. So it blends with the external also. And we need to ensure that there is a clear segregation between the two. Now, where are we at different times? Again, since this is a pyramid, I'm not saying that this is how we grow or something. We may be at different points in our life. And it's not like you will be at the highest point all the time. You will come down, you will go up, but awareness of that is very important. So when you are in denial of the internal conversation, you are completely disconnected. And those are times when we feel really bad, stressed about a job. We hate doing a presentation or anything because we are in denial with the internal conversation that is telling us that this is not what you're meant to do, for example. And that's where, even though there is a lot of external reaffirmation, positive reaffirmation, you're still in denial and there is a disconnect. You're not even able to recognize with some of the external appreciation that comes our way. Then it could move to be hurtful, which means that it goes into the mode of self-doubt ourself. And this predominantly comes after denial, because the conversation within, I don't know, I'm just making this up, maybe has an ego. And since you were in denial for some time, it starts being a lot more hurtful, saying that I told you you should not, and you're not capable of doing this, blah, blah, all that. I think that's when we start doubting our own capabilities. And it does happen, right? Sometimes we get a presentation wrong and we feel that we can never make another good presentation ever at all in our life. But staying with that conversation will be okay, because that internal conversation within is only about making us better. And then that intuition then becomes enabling, or that gut feel, or that head thought, whatever you want to call, it becomes enabling when you're self-motivated. So that's like a big move from self-doubt to motivation, because you're not waiting for external affirmation, you're not waiting for external motivation. That conversation within you is so much so like in line with that it starts motivating you to do what you have to do. And finally, existence, just accepting existence of that conversation, and what is happening within is happening outside. It's not about just being connected. People may think, oh, shouldn't we go from disconnect to connect? I think we probably move one step ahead and move from being disconnected and denial, and awareness of the existence of that conversation. And this is again, Chandan, very great point that you brought out. Awareness of that existence of the conversation, respecting that, and somehow synchronizing with that really leads to a state of contentment. And that's what that internal conversation can be powerful. When we are in denial, it's atomic energy that is hurting us. And when we are in existence, then it is atomic energy that is helping us. So that was some of my, like key thoughts I wanted to share in terms of the different levels. Again, since I put it in a form of a pyramid, I don't want you to think that, oh, I need to move from here to there. Yes, we need to. I think being in the state of existence of the conversations, which means we're having a very contented life, is something that is true. That's where we have to be. But it can't happen at the snap of a finger. It can't happen over a day, month, or whatever. Right? We have to just kind of like wait for it to go through, and you may kind of fall from existence to denial to motivation to hurtful. It can keep moving around, but be aware of that conversation within. Allow it to be. I think just allowing it to be itself is nurturing that conversation to become better and really serve us in what we do in our daily lives. That's what I think. And one person I wanted to highlight over here is, especially with conversations, is one great person who lived and walked on this earth, called Ramana Maharshi. He spoke a lot about these internal conversations. His philosophy was all about discovering who am I. And while he was in a state of, there was no thoughts at all. And I don't think we can all get there at all ever. And we should not even try to get there, I feel, where we are. But I think learning from what he has said is that he said a simple way of meditation is, like forget all asanas and everything. Just, there is a voice coming from within, right? Try to find out where is it coming from. Just keep going inside. Find out where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? And the more you kind of keep going inside and try to find out where is the start point, a root of that voice, you'll get a lot of peace, is what he said. How is it relating to this conversation? Is because we have to somehow start in the journey of heading there. And there is no like particular time of life when we can do that. In our country, a lot of things have been told, oh, this is all for old age man, not now. But I heard somebody tell me, and it was very powerful. He said that the best gift a parent can give to their child is self-awareness, is the gift of self-awareness. And he said everything else will be taken care of. So if a child is self-aware from a very young age, there's no worry for parents, is what he said, and I believe in it. But nevertheless, thank you very much, and that's what I had to share. But any closing comments, thoughts on the second part that we just discussed, or anything else that people have? As I said, women voices will be great to hear. And while some women make up their mind. Oh, sorry, great, thanks. There is one already. But want to just highlight this, that to Rohit, your point, Girish had actually messaged me. I'm seeing it now. He said overthinking is like over-analyzing. So he's also from the world of finance, and he said that you analyze, but no organization or consultant tries to over-analyze data. So do not over-analyze. So you will not overthink. And he says it comes only because of outcome. Stressed about outcome is when we overthink. So I just want to register that. Sorry, Nirmala, apologies. Over to you.
No, sir, no need to apologize. Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, of course, like everyone else, I do talk to my inner self, and I think that's the only voice that knows you in and out. That is unbiased, right? And that's the only voice that can tell me. Like many a times it happens that there is someone who's overreacting, and then I'm thinking, okay, why is that person overreacting? And my inner voice says, oh, even you would do this in this situation. So that you would have also done that. So that is something, I mean, inner voice, listening to inner voice is an important thing. I feel good talking to myself, analyzing within myself. And now, after having this conversation with every one of you, I'm thinking that I'm doing the right thing. Till now, I didn't know whether it is right or no. Even I was thinking it may be an overthinking, I thought, but no, it's a good thing, because as you said, it is all about self-awareness, right? And talking to someone who is unbiased and who knows you in and out is a good thing that you can have.
Wow. Yeah, knowing somebody who's unbiased within you is the greatest feeling. I completely agree with you. Thanks a lot for sharing, Nirmala. Anybody else? Last thought, final thought, 1 minute?
Hi, Raghavan, it's Kriti here. Can you
Hi.
hear me? Yeah. So I just want to share one thought over here related to internal thoughts and external factors, which is that I remember that you touched the point of being lonely and being alone, right? So I just have a thought over here. We always ask people to reach out to someone when there is no conclusion or when we overthink. And most of them do reach out to their friends or families, and there might not be a possibility that other person is always understanding us the way we expect them to understand. And then probably we stop approaching for help, thinking that we are alone and no one is around us to help. So in my personal view, it's very important to be open about our problems and to give that time to that other person to understand your thoughts. And if they are still not able to help, then reach out to someone else without overthinking about this thing that there is no one around you or people don't want to help you. Don't detach yourself and run away. So that can be a negative factor over here when we talk about those external factors, wherein we are so dependent on someone else, and we keep on stopping ourselves that probably that one person or one option has not worked for us, then we might not reach out to someone else. So I just want to give a message over here to reach out. If first person is not helping you, then reach out to someone else, but never stop that inner voice of yours. That was my thought.
Great. Never stop that inner voice that actually tells you something. That's a fantastic place to, I think, close. So never stop. And thank you very much for all of you for contributing. It's been a wonderful session. Again, feedback will be a link to feedback, and those of you who have taken the feedback, you know it. It's very simple. Please send it out. Send out any topics that you feel you want to kind of talk about. This has been a great conversation. And I, ensure that what we are doing in this reflection lane, we are able to take it back in some form or shape when we get back into the hustle and bustle lane. Let's not just leave it only for 1 hour of being here. So I wish you all the best. Stay safe. Take care, and I will see you all again on the 3rd Sunday of June 2021 with another interesting topic on the reflection lane. Look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.